Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Law of One Spiritual Advice podcast. My name is Elle. I am here to speak about the Law of One. And normally we would I would read something from the raw material. However, I like to read other transcripts from the LL Research Group, which is also channeled material. This is coming from Quo today, so Quo, they like to refer to themselves as. This is just a quick explanation. They're like a conglomerate entity. They're like three entities as one, and my understanding is this is how they can kind of keep the message from raw communication coming in a safe manner, but it's channeled consciously instead of unconsciously like the raw material was. So with Quo, you got a bit of more of a human speak, but it's basically raw, stepped down, and balanced with a sixth density entity, balanced with a fifth density entity, Latwe, balanced with a fourth density entity, Haton, and then between the three of them, they are Quo. Whoa, that was a good long explanation. Okay, so to today's quote, which will have sort of to do with, as all usually, service to others, service, the personality and the intellect and the ego versus the little I versus the big I, giving without condition or with condition. So those would sort of be the ideas here. Okay, so today's quote is from 1990, September 9th. And this would be channeled from, I don't know, actually probably Carla, but the quote begins with, "You are not your bodies. You are not your intellect. You working to open your heart. We do not suggest that you embrace servanthood to the point of your own self-destruction unless you feel that is your path to do so. What you wish to do, in truth, is to recognize what is your situation and to keep recognizing that situation as it changes, accepting that the goal of this incarnation is neither happiness nor contentment, but service to others, and the learning for yourself of how to love without condition. We ask you not to be discouraged as you strive to do so, but seem somehow unable to accomplish that which you attempt. We hope that the tools that we have made available are part of what you may use to move into harmony with love, acceptance, and the allowing of all entities to be as they are, and that includes yourself. You cannot push a flower out of the ground. You must wait, nourish it, feed it, water it, let the sun shine upon it, and give all credit, all glory, and praise and thanksgiving for the bloom to the creator of that bloom. You are all stewards of an immeasurable bounty of riches. Your birthmark is joy unrestrained and overwhelming love for all." End of quote. That's Quo from 1990, September 9th. All right, so the beginning here, they are saying, you are not your bodies, you are not your intellect. I always like to talk about this one because me being a sort of naturally intellectual sort of being, I was always thinking of my intellect as being so witty and so important, and it's just my ego, really, is what it is. So it's a personality, is your intellect, is your ego. You can think of it as like your small personality. This is why we are not our bodies, we are not our intellect. It's a part of us. We're a mind-body-spirit complex, but the true essence of ourselves is sort of our spirit. And in that spirit is the creator, and in that creator, there's sort of ways of looking at things. You can see things from the small self, or you can see things from the larger self, the little I or the big I. When you refer to I, do you refer to just yourself? Or when you use the word I, do you refer to I as in the creator? Everything is I. We are all one, the larger identity, the I. So they briefly mention here about, we do not suggest that you embrace servanthood to the point of your own self-destruction unless you feel that is your path to do so. They're just talking about martyrdom, so you can become so compassionate to the point that you're willing to basically sacrifice yourself for others, which isn't necessarily like a bad thing, but martyrdom isn't wise. They talk about this in other parts of the material, but over-compassionate beings which go down the path of martyrdom, they'll find later on in their spiritual development that was sort of a naive thing that they've done. It's better to use wisdom to sort of do what you can without sacrificing yourself. But I suppose if it came down to it, you would be still willing to do the sacrifice of yourself. But you just understand that it's not a wise thing to do. It doesn't necessarily serve the larger picture. So I don't want to go into that part too much, because that's what they're saying that you probably shouldn't do. So what you maybe should do in truth, which they say here, is to recognize what is your situation and to keep recognizing that situation as it changes, accepting that goal of this incarnation is neither happiness nor contentment, but service to others and the learning for yourself of how to love without condition. So in that, there's like almost three things that pop out to me. So if we were to first talk about acceptance versus control and service to others versus service to self. So if you're polarized in the service to others, assuming you'd be listening to this, you would be on the path of acceptance. You're wanting to accept things, not control them. Control is of the service to self path. So if essentially you would want to, the service to self path controls everything. They want to control all catalyst things, people, emotions, anything that comes their way. Their job is to control it. Whereas your job in the service to others would be to accept things. In acceptance isn't blind admirability. It's about accepting the things that are out of your control. You cannot control, you don't have the free will of others, you only have the free will of yourself. So sometimes we think that we can do all these great things in assisting others and serving them, but you'll find that their free will is more important than, well, your free will, at least when it comes to themselves. So with that, you have to learn to accept things, and in that you learn to accept things for yourself too, your own incarnation, your own plan, your own circumstances. We can't necessarily control our way out of the situation, but we can transform it through acceptance and loving the situation and then bringing it to a new level from there, instead of just, being in denial about it or possibly trying to control it into submission and then failing again in the future on the same lesson that you sort of failed to learn in the first place. So whenever I think of acceptance and control, I'm thinking of service to others versus service to self. And then they say here how to love without condition. And this, in my opinion, is very much the same thing, because if you're, love without condition, we can think of giving with condition and giving without condition. So if I'm to give with condition, say like I make a nice meal for somebody, right? And I say, hey, here you go. Here's this beautiful meal, but you have to clean up after. So did you really give something? Yeah, of course you give, but you gave with condition, and that, in my opinion, is a sort of control. Whereas in the other essence, you could give without condition, which would just be to freely give that thing. You would say, hey, I made a meal for you. Here, I would love to share it with you. I hope you enjoy it. And then if that person feels the need to reciprocate that service and that love, they may offer to do the dishes for you, or they may offer to clean up for you. But it's not necessarily your right to demand that they do such a thing. Now, we can talk about living with people and such, that may be another scenario, but I'm just talking very generally speaking. We can still try to discipline others to a certain degree and be honest with them about what we would like them to do. There's nothing wrong with that. However, just to make it really easy, there's giving with condition, and I would consider that as a sort of a control thing, where it's a service to self. Whereas if you're wanting to serve others, you would be giving without condition, which is to freely give, freely receive. That's been my sort of motto for the past 10 years. I don't know if I saw it somewhere or just made it up, but they always talk about freely giving and freely receiving. These are two sides of the same coin. This is also how you open yourself up to abundance and flow. It seems to be that, you may think that you have nothing and you're living in lack, then you may get more of that. Whereas if you think that all things that come to you are gifts of the Creator to be shared with others, and the Creator's got your back, they'll always take care of you, in that I find that yeah, you can give easier and be open to receiving. Don't shut down when people try to give things back to you. Just allow it. It's a lot more of a beautiful equation than the one which controls things, giving something for something else. Like, do you want to be a bank? I give out a loan with interest and this and that, and I want this much back plus more. I don't know. That's not the nature of the Creator. If we want to be of service to others, that's the nature. We're trying to get our way back to the Creator and resonating with that trueness of our being, and the trueness of our being is unconditional love. And unconditional love is definitely something that would freely give and not give things with conditions. And with the unconditional love, there is even the higher aspect, which of course you're unconditional loving because you are recognizing the unity of all, the unity of all creation. The truth is that we are one. And so the goal is not to be here to be happy and content or rich or poor or whatever it is. Our goal here is to serve. It's really it. You can do whatever you want here, but it's just the end goal is service. So the more that you recognize that, I sort of feel the more that you can be kind to yourself and not be overwhelmed with the way our world and culture says that you maybe should live, or the expectations that they expect of you. You can just understand that you're here to serve. Service is always in front of your face, and no matter what happens, you will have the ability to serve. Everything is the Creator, so therefore everything you do is an interaction of Creator to Creator, just Creator serving Creator. So the idea is we're here now, right now, it's always now, and in that now there is service, and in that service there is love, and the intention to share that love with others freely is, just the nature of the Creator, I suppose. So let me just talk about being kind to yourself again. I would say keep in mind there is no failure to somebody who keeps trying. I believe Ra also says there are no mistakes, but there are surprises. So maybe you make a failure, but it really was because that failure led to a lesson that you learned that was extremely important, and you wouldn't have learned that lesson without first failing, or maybe it wouldn't have stuck if you didn't fail 3 or 4 or 5 times before actually succeeding. So, and even then, thinking of outcomes is another form of control. So you would be better off just to accept that thy will be done. Keep trying, have faith in the Creator that they will put things in front of your path that is for the best of you and the earth and the whole universe, because that is the perfection of the Creator and of every moment. Now, just highlighting here that when you are able to be kind to others, you can be kind to yourself, vice versa. Some people think, I want to be kind to others, and then they neglect being kind to themselves, and I would call you foolish. You cannot be kind to others if you can't really be kind to yourself. I would argue that, even your kindness to others is sort of fake. It's a mask that you're wearing if you can't truly give that same compassion and love to yourself. So I try to be very nice to my inner self. I sort of talk to myself like I'm a child sometimes, because the mind of us humans, the lower mind, is sort of like a child that just wants its way all the time. So you got to be kind to yourself, recognize your human aspects, not control them, just accept who you are. And in that acceptance, you can love that little portion of yourself instead of trying to just demand that it do things, and then it's like the spoiled child and it'll act out again. So you discipline that inner child, hug it, teach it to grow up wisely. You're basically just teaching yourself to be kind to yourself and clean up your inner dialogue, and then you can just be more kind to others. You'll find that things that maybe used to trigger you before, once you've done some self-healing, and there's other people who come towards you and they would offer you some sort of trigger, you may find that that trigger doesn't really do much anymore, because you see that that other person who's acting out towards you is just a hurt person themselves. And before, when you were also a hurt person, you used to always lash back at them and jump on that opportunity. But now that you're healed, all you see in them is just pain themselves acting out, and you can offer a reflection of love, a reflection of the Creator, instead a reflection of more unhealed pain, which is what a lot of everybody does out here. So, yeah, there's no difference between being kind to others and being kind to yourself. Others are the self, and the self are others, or it goes both ways. And I think I spoke about freely giving and unconditional giving, but I'll just sort of repeat, you need to respect the free will of others to bloom in their own timing, like they're indicating here. You cannot push a flower out of the ground. You must wait, nourish it, feed it, water it, let the sun shine upon it, give it all the credit, all glory and praise and thanksgiving for the bloom to the Creator of that bloom. I think of giving seeds in the same way. This is the unconditional giving. You want to share a spiritual thought with somebody, you are offering them a seed. So do you then force that learning upon them, force that teaching upon them? Do you make them see the epiphany that you just had? No, that would be dropping the seed and forcing it in a way. What would be better is you drop the seed and then you wait for the reciprocation from the other person. They put some light on the seed, so you offer some more water. It's a sort of give and take thing, and as they accept it and are ready, you can assist in the blooming of the seed. But often you may plant a seed or drop a seed, and the other person just wants nothing to do with it. So what I would offer is a piece of advice, and that you should just try to not worry about it. You'll find that it's happened to me where I would just drop a seed and not really care, have too much investment in it going in a certain direction. I would just drop that seed, and then the person may not even say anything about it. And then 6 months later, a year later, I'll get a message on the internet from a friend like, hey, I remember when you said this and this, and now I want to talk more about that. It's crazy how that sort of thing happens. So you don't always have to force things. You can just allow it to happen as it will. Everyone has their own timing. All paths lead to the Creator. So take a back seat, watch the play that's playing out in front of you. Do what you can to assist, and that's really your responsibility in this equation, I would say. And let me share a little story too. So just about seeds, a literal story. I had a seed which I had planted, and it was an apple seed which I had actually got from an apple tree that I found on an island, and I wanted to plant this apple seed and make it my own apple tree. So I planted the seed, and then I watered it and put it in the sun, and nothing happened, and there's not much I can do about that, can I? I just put it away underneath the table for the winter, and then I came back around in the springtime, and I was cleaning out all the old pots and soil and everything, and then I pull out this one little container which had this little apple seed which had sprouted. So I just basically didn't care about it. I even put it away. Wasn't much point in keeping it out in the sun. But it was just what it needed. As it was sitting in the shade and the moisture, it had time to germinate all winter, and then this beautiful little seedling had popped out. And then I was pleasantly surprised to find this seedling, and I went and planted it in my backyard, and I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, and this little seedling is now a good 13 feet tall. Still pretty skinny, but it's very tall. So just, I don't know, that obviously is metaphorical in the same aspect, so I just wanted to share that little part with you. And then they indicate at the very end of the quote here, you are all stewards of an immeasurable bounty of riches. Your birthmark is joy, unrestrained and overwhelming love for all. I would agree. Like I was saying earlier, these are all things that are just the nature of the Creator. The nature of the Creator is unity and unconditional love. When we pass away from these bodies, something similar to the experience of an orgasm. Is my understanding is deeper than that, deeper than you could ever imagine, but something's akin to that would be the absolute unconditional love that the Creator has for you, for us, for all, for everything at all moments in all time. It's just that we have our mask of personality on, which accentuates the illusion of separation, which prevents us from seeing the perfection in every moment. And that's okay, because that's the nature of third density. We come here to realize that we come here with the veil so that we can feel that everything is not perfect. We don't know that the perfection of the moment. We don't know the perfection of the Creator, so we have to find faith within the dark to decide to serve ourselves or serve others. And there's no bias given from the Creator to us about which path per se to take. So it's of our choosing. We are here in the third density of choice, and we're here to choose that path. So if you freely choose the path of service to others, you'll naturally become a more loving, unified person, and in that you will radiate that out to others. And you don't need to always control yourself into being some type of perfect spiritual type person. You can just be you and express your thoughts, and hopefully those thoughts are helpful to others, which is exactly what I'm doing here right now. I used to think like, I don't know, my thoughts, I don't need to share them with anybody. But whenever I'm listening to other people, I always hear one little thing that I didn't quite think of before. And so I would assume, and I've read all the comments and all the YouTube's videos that you guys comment on, and I can see that, often I'll be talking about something which you're totally aware of, but maybe I've put together something that you just hadn't quite seen, or maybe I put it together in a different method or whatever. So just sharing a piece of your being is not always something that's amazing and great. Service doesn't have to be extravagant. It can just be you being you. And so I hope that you got some of me from this and sharing some love of the Creator. All right, everybody, that is good for today. If you enjoyed listening to this, you can get all the material at theoneinfinitecreator.com. That's my website, and I've created links to all this material, which you can always access for free. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back again Monday, Wednesday, Friday to do these podcasts where we philosophize on the law of one. I hope you have a good weekend. Love you guys. Bye.